What is the creepiest glitch in the Matrix you've experienced? I mentioned this in another thread, but here it is again. Me and my friend were at a Chinese restaurant, and we ordered a General Tso chicken dinner and a shrimp lo mein dish. When we sat down, we took out both boxes and set them on the table about 2 feet apart. My friend opens the first box and we see a shrimp lo mein dish. It has all the things in there: noodles, shrimp, fried rice. He closes the box and opens the other box. Inside that box is another shrimp lo mein dish. Shrimp, noodles, fried rice. Oh, I think they must have mixed the order. I was just about to say this when my friend says out loud, "Looks like they made a mistake and gave us 2." As he opens up the first box again, inside of it is a General Tso chicken dinner order. General Tso chicken, white rice, and an egg roll. He froze and looked at me. I looked back and we sat in silence. It took us 5 or so minutes to collect ourselves. I have no idea what the fuck happened. These are my favorites. The slightly off, everyday glitches. Not creepy, but so vivid and distinct that I still think about it. Years later, I had a subjectively long, involved dream where I was a vendor in a fish market. I remember getting up early, dressing, doing a whole morning routine, going to get tea, heading out to the docks, buying fish, loading them in a cart and going to get ice, then haggling for ice, buying some less fresh fish while I was at it, then going to a market to my stall, setting up and selling fish all day. It was so real. I talked to friends, smoked nasty cigarettes, haggled customers, ate lunch, had tea and just lived through the day. At the end of the day, I cleaned up, counted my cash, paid the stall rent, went home, cooked some of the fish I hadn't sold, sling with some veggies and rice that I'd traded for. I drank more tea, relaxed for a while, then drew a hot bath, soaked and smoked some more cigs, then went to bed. The next morning, I woke up refreshed, ready to go down to the docks to buy fresh catch. Except I was in my house, next to my wife. Truck parked outside and it was Saturday, no work. My wife and I were getting geared up to go skiing in Oregon and the car was already packed. Weird thing was, in the dream, I was single, and a smoker I'm not. And the whole long dream had been in fluent Chinese. The effortless kind of fluency that only comes from a lifetime of speaking it. Oh. And I had been Chinese. I'm a big, hairy white dude, somewhat fluent in Spanish, and I know a little bit of Russian. But I've never. It was just weird. I've never worked in a fish market. I wonder who I was. I wonder what that was. Meanwhile in China, a Chinese fish vendor woke up after having a dream about him being a big, hairy white dude with a wife and a truck. Haha. I thought the same thing. The Chinese guy then got to experience a day of skiing as the white guy. And now the Chinese guy sits around telling his kids about his wild dream. They all think he's nuts. I was so hairy. I've experienced déjà vu a couple of times when I was younger. And while that is certainly freaky, nothing beats its opposite. Jamais vu, which I experienced twice during a period of work-related stress a few years ago. On both occasions I was driving in my car, in perfectly familiar surroundings near my home, when suddenly I had no idea where I was or where I was going. It was like being instantly teleported to a foreign country. It only lasted seconds, but very creepy nonetheless. Until it happened to me. I had no idea that this even existed. Edit. For those of you concerned about my health. Yes. I did see a doctor. And so should you if something like this happens to you more than once or lasts longer than a few seconds. My episodes were stress-induced. But more serious conditions can also cause the symptom. Edit 2. If you're on drugs. Well, there's your problem. My dad has epilepsy and says that he'll experience this when he doesn't take his meds. Sort of like a fugue state. He went to Aspen on a business trip to design a ski lodge and he forgot his meds at home. He was supposed to do a big presentation but he never showed up. His co-workers looked for him for hours until they finally found him walking down the highway in the snow. 8 miles from their hotel. Apparently he had completely forgot who he was, where he was, and why he was there. He figured if he just started walking he could piece things together and figure things out. He snapped out of it when he saw the familiar faces of his co-workers. That isn't like a fugue state, that is the definition of one. I knew my uncle had died. My mom had called me and told me the news. It was very sad. She told me in the middle of work and I told one of my co-workers. He expressed his condolences on my loss. A couple weeks later, my sister mentioned my aunt and uncle doing something. I said, "S dead." And my sister said no. He wasn't. I called my mom. No. He wasn't dead. To this day I'm still not sure how much of it my brain imagined and how much was real. Did I really talk to my co-worker? Was I even on the phone with my mom at all that day? It still freaks me out knowing that my mind could fabricate so complete and real a memory like that. I've had a couple of dreams which have been so vivid. I swore they were real. It might be this. I've had those where a relative dies. The best feeling in the world is waking up and realizing they're still here. The worst feeling is waking up thinking it's a dream. But then reality hits you again. This happened to my dad, so it's not exactly a personal story. Anyway, my dad was driving down a long lonely highway in Ohio doing about 90 in his Z28 with a radar detector. Rolling hills and whatnot meant that cops could hide at the bottom before you could see them and slow down. So, all of a sudden, his radar detector starts blaring and he slams on the brakes. Right over the hill. There's a squad car running radar. He's super relieved. But when he looks at the detector, it's not even on the windshield. It was unplugged and in the glove compartment. What the fuck? TL. DR. Ghost radar sector kept my dad from getting a ticket. Posted this in a previous sub a while back, but I'll post it again as it fits here too. I had just turned 22 and my parents had sold their house and purchased a place out in the country. On the property there was a big shed not far from the house that I decided to turn into my place. Now I felt kind of uncomfortable in the shed sometimes, but my dog kept me company so it wasn't so bad. Anyway, I had been in there maybe 2 weeks and one night I'm on the computer. My dog asleep at my feet and I need to pee, so I get up and go outside to piss. It's a beautiful clear night and the stars were incredible. Next thing I hear the shed door slam behind me. I turn immediately and try to open it, but it won't budge. Now from inside the shed I can hear my dog start to growl. Quietly at first, then louder. Now he's barking and I'm panicking trying to get the door open. I must mention that I'm 6'5" and well built. Play sports etc., but even ramming my full weight into the door won't open it, and I'm really panicking now as my dog's barks turned into whines. Then whimpering. Then silence, and with all my might I slam into the door and it flies open. The light is off inside now and it's pitch black. It won't turn back on and I'm in complete darkness. Can't see my dog anywhere and I stumble around trying to find a torch. Finally I find it and pick it up and turn on my torch, and I wasn't prepared for what I'd see next. My dog had literally squashed itself into the furthest, darkest corner of the room. eyes closed and is shaking violently. I immediately moved towards him, and as soon as I got within reach of him, he leapt at me into my arms and wouldn't move. I picked him up, and I swear I've never ran so fast in my goddamn life. I never stepped foot in that shed ever again, and my dog wouldn't even go near that part of the property. I don't know what happened in that shed that night, but I'll never forget it. This isn't a glitch in the Matrix. This is a straight up demonic story. Holy shit. Have a few. But this one stands out. I was catching a skitran in one particular city about 15 minutes from where I get off. While I wait, there is a woman with glazed eyes asking people for money. She came up to me, stopped briefly, and asked, "Excuse me, could you spare some money? My brother is in the hospital and I'd like some money to buy him some flowers." That's rich, I thought. Drug addicts are getting more and more obvious with their lines. Here's 5. Gave it to her without even looking her in the face, convinced of her intentions. Anyways, my train pulls up and I get on. I look through the glass at her walking around asking others for money as the train pulls away. The train arrives at the station 15 minutes later, and I walk down and out to the bus stop. There is only one bus the direction I'm going. And just my luck, it is there waiting when I get off the train. So on the bus I hop and wait for the bus driver to finish reading his paper before the doors close, and we embark down the highway. About 5 to 10 minutes traveling. The driver pulls over for a routine stop. The doors open, and to my complete astonishment the woman from the skitran walks into the bus, a dozen roses in hand. She looks me right in the eyes as she walks past to take her seat. How in the blue hell did she get there? I took the train before her. I watched her at the train stop from inside as we pulled away. I went over a river. I caught the first and only bus going this particular direction. And not only did she beat me there, she had time to go to a store and buy a dozen roses. To this day I have no idea how this happened. You met God and passed the test. Edit. As an agnostic, I'm not sure how to feel about this being my highest rated comment. Figures. I sometimes wonder, what if God was one of us? You know, just a glassy-eyed hobo woman with roses on a bus? What if God is everyone but you? And the way you treat every single person you encounter is a test. God did some pretty mean things to me in middle school. Edit. Gold. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Just kidding. Thanks, Satan. They were tests, my son.